All right, welcome back to the afternoon session. We have 2 sessions this afternoon. Once again, you're going to be looking at my ugly mug. Sorry about that. This afternoon, I believe we're going to be finishing 10 minutes early again, so we can go downstairs and do a group photo as well. So I'll just give you a heads up about that. I know we did one yesterday. They want to do another one apparently. Whatever, you get off 10 minutes early. You can go down there and you can leave. This session we're going to be talking about activities that can promote English, and I want to make a differentiation here. We've talked a lot about activities that can be used in the classroom to promote English language learning. Now I want to talk about activities that can be used outside of the classroom. Now, this is completely up to you how you want to adapt this at your school, whether or not you want to do it outside of the classroom or adapt it for usage within your classroom. But for me personally, these activities are all extracurricular. So you can consider and use, take what you want, discard what you don't need. Okay, so first a couple questions. Besides English class at your school, does your school hold any extracurricular English competitions? And the second question is, does your school hold any holiday-related English activities? Okay? And yeah, so I'll show you what some of the responses that you told me. One person said contests, competitions, etc. Another person said English songs performances. Another person said readers theater. Another person said English reading, comics, jokes, and short stories every 2 weeks. And English speaking club. Okay, so I would like to ask, what is readers theater? Because I am not clear on that. Someone wrote that. Could you please share with everyone what exactly is Reader's Theater and how do you make it work?
We had to do Reader's Theater on the first morning. Like, all of us had to do a Reader's Theater.
Really? Okay, I didn't attend that. So everyone knows what Reader's Theater is then, basically? Okay. Then what is English Passport? Somebody also wrote that as well. What is English Passport?
You're John.
Yeah.
The kids have certain phrases each week, or a group of phrases each week that they have to come down 1 day a week, and they have to recite these phrases to you, to the English teachers.
Okay.
Yeah.
And they have like a little book that they have to get
They have
stamped?
a little book, and yeah, we have to sign off that they were able to say these things.
Okay, very good. All right, any other ideas? What kind of activities do you use outside of the classroom or that your school has to promote English language learning? It doesn't have to be at your school right now. It could be at a school you've taught at before. So this is pretty much my experience every day teaching. Come on, what activities? Contests, activities.
In Korea, my school had a little supermarket,
Uh-huh.
and during the lunch, one afternoon, maybe a week, they would get money by participating by answering questions all throughout the week, and then they would be able to go to the supermarket and buy like pencils, toys, things like that. And they would have to have a conversation with me, because I was like the shopkeeper. Yeah, so they would say, I would say, what do you want to buy? Tell me what it is. Tell them how much. Things like that.
That's really cool. Do they have like a little book that they have to keep track of what they do throughout the week and you give them money?
No, we just, on the spot, if they would answer enough questions throughout the day, we would give them the money. Or if we didn't have the money, we'd have like little stickers.
Mhm.
Yeah, so on a little sheet in the back of the book, we would give them stickers, and then we would know how much money they should have.
And I'm guessing this isn't real money that you were giving them, right?
No, it's fake money.
Okay, very good. All right, I like this idea. This is something I could see using at my school. So you set up an English grocery store, and then each kid gets money whenever they do well. And then they come to the store and they buy stuff which they like, and they have to use English whenever they buy it. So very good. All right, what are other activities, extracurricular activities that have been used?
Hey, did you mention the competitions? I know they do like different English speaking competitions and like dancing competitions.
Dancing competitions?
Yeah. Like I'm not so much involved with it, but I know my school's doing like something. I don't know what kind of dance. You know,
So like an English dance?
maybe twerking of some sort.
Okay. Twerking. Okay. Nice.
I'm not sure, but I know they do different things like that.
Okay. Very good. So English language competitions. Very good. Thank you. What else? Anything else? Anything interesting or unique that you think that your school does that maybe other schools don't do that you could share with everyone? Ideas.
We did an Easter egg hunt, and we had special eggs, and they had riddles in them that they had to answer in order to get a prize.
Okay.
Yeah.
Easter egg hunt. I like it. I can see students really liking that activity.
Yeah.
Okay. Very good. What else? Yep.
Okay, so I'm imagining that at all of our schools there are the English phrases on the stairs. You can do various like scavenger hunts with that. Like I was working on short vowels, so they had to go find short vowel sounds. I will say it didn't go well because the kids can't read, and I didn't really take that into consideration. But they just probably, I would be like, look for, short A, short E, short I, and they would just bring back all A words, all B words, all I words. But anyway, I think Alice did that too, right? Yeah. And you've done it, right? Okay, well anyway. Alice, you probably, what did you do it with? What were they looking for? Oh, you also do short vowels. Okay. Depending on if your kids can sound out words, because if they can't sound out words, like they'll just bring you back any word with that. But I did get complimented from the school. They had no idea that the activity had not gone well. And they're like, that's such a good idea. So it didn't actually work out like I planned, but the school liked it and the kids really liked it.
Very, very good. A scavenger hunt. An English scavenger hunt. I like it. All right. Other ideas? Other suggestions? Okay. Well, I want to share with you some things that my school does. Hopefully you can use it at your school. Okay, first of all, contests. Okay, this is an English recitation contest here. There's several types of contests you can hold. One is an English storytelling contest. Another is an English speech contest. Another is an English recitation contest. Recitation meaning they have pre-selected some paragraph that they have to read, and they're judged on their intonation and their the quality of their voice and things like that. If you are in charge of planning an activity, and let me just make a little side note here. As a foreign teacher at your school, if you can take initiative and make suggestions for activities, generally the administrators really like it, and you get brownie points for doing things like that. So if you can take the initiative, if you see that your school isn't holding activities regularly, you can take the initiative, suggest it, plan it, and you will get brownie points. So let me give you just a couple practical suggestions for making sure a contest goes well. First thing is, you need to give the students at least a month in advance preparation time. At least a month in advance. Don't wait till the last minute to have them start preparing. They need at least a month. So they need the time. Next is a panel of 3 judges is what my school normally uses. It's always great if you can get foreign teachers to come in and judge English speaking contests. But if that's not practical, you can always have English teachers from your school step in to do the judging. Students should be told in advance how much time they're going to be given to perform. So we had a situation at my school recently where students were given stories that they had to prepare, and the stories took at least 2.5 minutes to present. Whenever they came in, they had memorized the story and everything. They had spent a lot of time preparing. When they came in, they were told that they had 30 seconds. Okay, whenever 30 seconds was up, the judge was going to ring the bell. Whether or not they were finished, they had to leave, and the next person had to come up. As you can imagine, that was very, very disheartening for the students to have spent so much time preparing a 2.5-minute speech only to be told that they could speak for 30 seconds. So, this is very, very critical. Make sure that they know exactly how much time they can speak. Then once again, you want to kind of follow the 60-40 rule. You don't want it to be too challenging, but challenging enough. Our school holds contests about twice a semester. Now, it's your turn. Let's see. I think we've already kind of talked about this. Okay. So I'll just skip that part. I want to tell you about a some specific holidays activities that my school has done. So this one is a Halloween costume/speech contest. And it went over very, very well. The students loved it. The administrators loved it. It was a success. Now what I did was I prepared a PowerPoint where I told the students exactly what was expected of them. Down here at the bottom, I have details about the event. It's going to be held at what time, what classes are involved, and then in Chinese, you could write it in English, a very clear description of exactly what you want the students to do. In this case, I had the students pick a costume, dress up, and then they needed to use English to introduce themselves. Just a simple introduction, 1 minute long, 30 seconds long to 1 minute long, that would be fine. Okay, then I showed them pictures from the previous year's Halloween contest so that they could have a clear idea of what they needed to do. So this was me last year. And this was another student. As you can imagine, the students loved getting dressed up. Another student. Student, very creative. This student was kind of scary. I think you can see she's pregnant and blood and there's stuff sticking out of her stomach. I think she got the prize for the most scary costume. And you can see smiling faces. And the students absolutely love this activity. Now, after I show the students these pictures, I tell them you have to give them very clear and explicit instructions on what you want them to do. Otherwise, they're not going to do it. So I said, all right, you're going to come up here and you've got to introduce yourself. So the first thing you're going to say is, hello, my name is Spider-Man. Or, hello, my name is a witch. And then, this just says that they have to write their own introduction, and then they can finish it by saying, Happy Halloween. And then I had to demonstrate exactly what I wanted the students to do. So I said, for example, if you chose to be Harry Potter, okay? And then I asked the students, if you chose to be Harry Potter, what would you say? You come up here, what are some of the things that you would say? So pretend you're my students for a minute. What would you say? Hello, my name is Harry Potter. Blah, 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 blah. What else?
I go to Hogwarts, Gosha.
Yes, I go to Hogwarts Elementary School, or Hogwarts School, with witchcraft and wizardry. Okay. Yeah, so anyway, my students actually responded with some answers. And then I said, this is what I would say. I would say, my name is Harry Potter. I'm a wizard. I go to school with a lot of other wizards and witches. My best friends are Ron Weasley and Hermione Granger. When I was a baby, an evil wizard tried to kill me, and that's why I have this scar on my forehead. Then I said, if you were Spider-Man, what would you say? All the students responded, and then I told them what I would say. My name is Spider-Man. I was bit by a radioactive spider, and now I have special powers. I can shoot webs and climb up walls. I also have super strength. And then finally, the last thing in this presentation was a list of steps that they need to do. And so the first thing, well, up here it says things that you need to do. Number 1, pick your costume. Number 2, write your lines. Number 3, let me look at your lines to make sure that they're written correctly. Number 4, we're going to use class time to practice your lines. And then finally, another teacher provided food and drinks for this activity. And I thought it was very important that the students say thank you. So I assigned some students to prepare a poster thanking this teacher for providing food and drinks. So a list of steps, marching orders for them. Okay, what Halloween activities have you guys done?
Trick-or-treating.
Trick-or-treating, okay?
Making costumes, like just usually face masks, monsters. You can practice like facial feature, vocab.
Okay, very good. Okay,
Did storytelling
storytelling. Okay, good.
and Halloween songs.
Okay, very good. Any other? Okay, let me just get a survey. Do a survey here. If your school has, this year, if your school had a Halloween English activity, raise your hand. Okay, very good. So there were some schools that did not. This would be a great opportunity, a great chance for you to show that you are involved and that that you care about the school. You can suggest a Halloween activity. All right, Christmas activities. This year, we are doing a Christmas storytelling competition. Now, what we have done is we chose 5 different simple Christmas stories. We pre-selected them, and we gave them to the students in advance, about a month in advance. And the students have to prepare them, and then they're going to be judged on their storytelling ability as well as their English level. I realize that a lot of you teach little kids, so I don't know how practical this is, but take it for what it's worth. Now, another thing that you can do, I think you can do this even with little kids, is a white elephant gift exchange. If you are aware of what a white elephant gift exchange is, please raise your hand. Okay, so 1 person knows what white elephant is. Okay. 2 people know what white elephant is. 3 people. Okay, very good. All right, I'm just going to explain what this is. Students love this activity. It's really, really fun. What you do is every student has to buy a present and wrap it before class. They put it in the box and they don't tell anyone else what the present is. This is secret. It has to be kept a secret. On the day of the activity, they come in and they put all the presents on the table. And then you draw someone's name. The first person gets to come up and select any of the presents and open it. All right. The second person, you draw another name, and the second person gets to come up. And what do they get to do? They can either
Steal.
Open up a regular, one of the presents on the table, or take the one that person just opened.
Very good. They can either pick up a new present from the table, or they can take the present that has already been opened. They can steal the present. And if the present gets stolen, what does that other person do?
Just get another present.
They have to get a new present from the table. And you just keep doing that. And so you'll find out that, somebody opens a present and it's something really cool that all the kids like. Maybe it's, I don't know what it is. Maybe it's a Hello Kitty mug or something like that everyone likes. And then that present will get stolen back and forth. Okay, and then there's a lot of interaction. The students have a lot of fun with this activity. And in order to make it more suited for the English classroom, you can have the students, when they open up the present, you kind of hold it up and introduce to everybody what it is in English. Okay? And if they can't, then the teacher can help them introduce it in English. Very fun Christmas activity you can do, very easy to do, takes little preparation. Looks like everyone is pretty sleepy after lunch. I'll take that as a consequence of all the calories you consumed and not a judgment about my speaking ability. What Christmas activities have you guys used?
Do the gingerbread.
Was that?
Do the gingerbread man.
Gingerbread
So
man.
later on it.
How does that work? Tell us about that.
We just do the gingerbread and we put some liquor so they can use that to spill anything they want, like pencil, pen, and anything.
So you actually bake the gingerbread?
Yeah, we do break some gingerbread, but others we just do we use a toast to place the shape.
Uh-huh.
So that's easier for the elementary students.
Uh-huh.
So they can spill like their onion or something like that.
And after they finish, do they get to eat the
Yeah.
gingerbread?
Actually, during the activity, they're already eating the bread, right?
So does the teacher prepare all of it, the gingerbread himself, or do you do it in the classroom?
You can depends if grade 5 and 6 probably can do it in the class, but mostly for because we do it whole school, so probably for grade 1 to grade 4 you have to prepare some gingerbread meat.
Okay, very good. Gingerbread spelling. Okay, very good. Thank you. What other Christmas activities that have you used that you found successful?
Two of my schools, I'm sorry, we're writing a letter to the German Santa. German Santa.
German
It
Santa.
actually-
Okay.
Yeah, it actually replies, and you don't have to pay for postage. So for grade 1 to 3, I have them copy exactly what I write on the board, how my name is, I go to school, blah, blah, blah. For grades 4 to 6, I let them write what they like to do and what they want for Christmas.
Question.
I do it early, yes.
Do you send it online, or do you?
No, I get stamps from school and I put the little labels and we actually gonna do that in something
And where do you find this address?
online.
And it's called the German
No,
Santa.
They have multiple post offices and the main one up in Austin Circle or Finland doesn't reply. But apparently this year the German Santa Claus will reply to the mail.
Okay, very cool. So you can Google that online and find out which Santa Claus will reply. Okay, very good. All right, very good. I like that. Writing a letter to Santa Claus is a good activity. All right, what else?
Ours actually got to tell Santa what they wanted.
Were you Santa Claus?
Yeah, they had to write it down first, and then they came up to me and told me what they wanted.
Did they sit on your lap?
No, they did not sit on my lap,
Good answer.
but they did get a candy cane.
Okay, very good. Okay, so Santa Claus, they can visit Santa Claus. Do you want to play Santa Claus? Okay, any other activities?
Let's send a little helper.
Okay, any other ideas for Christmas activities that you can share? No? Okay. Chinese New Year's. Chinese New Year's. This one's kind of hard. What can you do related to English on Chinese New Year's? It is a Chinese holiday after all. I thought about this and I came up with an idea. We would do English spring couplets. Okay, do you guys know what a spring couplet is? Hey, have you ever seen the red paper around people's doors? Yeah, around the lintel of the door. Hey, that is a spring couplet. And what happens is on New Year's, the locals, they will either buy or create their own. There's Chinese poetry that is written on these spring couplets. And they replace them every Chinese New Year's. So I decided we could do English spring couplets. And the kids had a really good time. You could consider doing this at your school. This would work with little kids as well. And I'm just going to tell you the specific steps I went through so you can avoid some of the problems that I had whenever I was doing it. All right, you have to do a little bit of work beforehand to make this come off well. The students love it though, and they have a chance to be creative. First of all, you need to come up with a list of things that the students can write. Because at my school, the students could not come up with things on their own. And I can imagine at an elementary school, even more so. So you're going to have to come up with a list of 10 to 20 English spring couplets you can use. Next thing is you need to secure the paper. You can normally go to these print shops where you make copies, and they can get paper for you. You can talk to your school. Someone from your school can do that, and they'll pay for the paper, hopefully. Next, you need to get brushes and ink. Once again, talk to your school. My school was nice enough to provide or pay for brushes and ink. You should probably have, if you divide the class into groups where there's 5 groups in a classroom, you should probably have twice that amount of brushes and ink, so 10. Because brushes are going to get broken, ink's going to get spilled, and so you're going to need some extras. And then at the very beginning of the activity, you need to explain clearly what you're going to do, and you have to manage time very well, because this is one of those activities where time can completely get away from you, and at the end of the class, things aren't done. If you have a noisy class, maybe this won't be such a good activity, because the kids, they usually kind of get out of hand. They like to talk a lot. So use your best judgment on this. And then whenever you're finished, okay, you have the added benefit of being able to take their spring couplets and post them up in the classroom. You can put it over your chalkboard, you can put it around the door. Now, this is a great way to kind of promote yourself, as it were. Every teacher that comes into this classroom is going to see the English spring couplets, and you can be sure that they're going to be curious, and they're going to ask, you know, who did this? Why did you do this? You know, this is really cool. Oh, the foreign teacher did this. This is really creative. You know, and it's going to be up all year, or at least for several months it's going to be up. So it's always going to be a reminder of what you did with the students. Great, great fun activity that you can use for Chinese New Year's. Yep.
What did they say? What did the messages say?
Okay, so good question. I went online and I was actually able to find some English spring couplets that I used. But I believe, I don't remember all of them, but this one I think says, money run here, or money runs here. It's similar to something that's said in Chinese. What?
In Chinese we say 财源滚滚.
Yes, okay, so it's very similar to the Chinese phrase. And then this one I think says, just congratulations. 恭喜发财. Just congratulations. Okay, any questions about this particular Chinese New Year activity? Have any of you done any other Chinese New Year English activities? Yep.
Last year, the speaker gave us all a worksheet, or a pamphlet, which had the story of the Chinese, the Chinese zodiac story, and it had a lot of activities that were suggested there. Like one was putting the story back in order, so like you cut it out in different order. So I guess you could read the story to the students, and then they could fit it back into order.
Okay. Good suggestion. Okay. What else? Any other Chinese New Year suggestions? Yep.
We have tried that, but it's not in elementary school. You can put we will prepare a red envelope, a lucky envelope during the Chinese New Year. So we can ask them students to write a task. You can put sing a song or do something. If they can do that, they can pick out a gift or certain items from the teacher as a reward.
Oh, very good. So if they do what you ask them to do, you give them a red envelope, and like inside it has some type of reward that they can get.
We put a task inside a red envelope.
Oh, the task is inside the red envelope.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. I like it. I like it. Kids love getting red envelopes. Yeah. Okay, very good. Any other ideas? Okay. Around the time of Chinese New Year, you're about to get off for your long break. Everyone's tired. Everyone's counting down the time. An activity like this is very, very good. It's very easy to prepare if you do it right. And the kids love it. It's a great way to kind of finish out the semester. Okay. All right, now it's your turn. Last activity before the break. Okay, this is something I've had trouble with, so I am asking this question partly for my benefit as well. Springtime activities. We've got the fall activities. We've got Halloween and Christmas, right? We got Chinese New Year even. But I can't think of any good spring activities to do with my kids. And so in the spring semesters, kind of just don't really know what to do. So the assignment is your school wants to hold a springtime holiday-related activity to promote English learning. Choose a holiday and come up with a fun activity. Include a few details about how to make the activity as successful as possible and be prepared to share with everyone. Hopefully we can do it this coming up year. Okay, so take about 5 minutes and then we will share what we came up with. Yep.
It says planning a springtime holiday. Then it says choose a holiday. Which springtime holiday
is there a
are you
typo?
talking about?
There may be a typo. Let's see,
When we do a Chinese New Year,
So, in the springtime, there's a couple holidays that you could choose from. There's
Okay.
Easter, there's that I've referenced during this seminar are located online in my Google Drive, free for you to download. Okay, ready for you to download, so you should have some ready-made lessons that you can use. The address should be on your handout. And you can also go onto my Facebook page, and I will post the address on I actually have a Facebook group called Jared Leggett English Group. If you go there, it will be the sticky post. You can go there and download these files. My gift to you. All right, so the final session is technical difficulties. Really strange. My apologies. I'm going to get the computer guy in here. See what we can do.
Just for that, you should need some
Hour, pretty much. Once again, for the people who are just coming in, all these files that I've referenced are online in my Google Drive. You can go to Facebook and search for Jared Leggett English Group. All my students included it. And I'll put the link in the sticky post at the top to the Google Drive. This last session is just kind of about anything that wouldn't fit anywhere else. Okay, so a bunch of practical suggestions, advice, miscellaneous tidbits that I felt were worth sharing. So a couple questions to begin with. When you speak to an ESL student, do you moderate the way you speak?
Yes.
You change the way you speak. What are the English errors that you see or hear over and over and over again? What can you do for students who are really enthusiastic about learning English? And what methods should you use to teach small or one-on-one classes? As native speakers of English, I'm speaking to the foreign teachers here, we often forget how difficult it is for our students to understand English. For the local teachers who have been learning English for many, many years, we often forget how difficult it is to learn basic English. And so sometimes we don't adjust the way we speak when we're speaking to a student, and we should. When you speak to a child, say a 5-year-old child, you change the way you speak. Everyone does it. No one speaks to a child like they speak to an adult. You change the words you use. You use short words, you use short sentences, and the depth of what you talk about is a lot more shallow. We should use the same principle when we are speaking to an ESL learner. I am not implying that we should treat ESL learners like 5-year-olds. That's not what I'm saying. But we need to take this idea of changing the way that we talk. We need to be aware that we need to articulate, that we need to use simple words, and that we need to slow down the pace of our speech. If we do these 3 things, it will help our students immensely. Number 1, articulate. Number 2, slow down our speech. Number 3, use simple words. So, sometimes this can be difficult to do. It's a challenge because a lot of times there's just the perfect way to express something. But our students won't understand it. And if we have to edit it and adjust it and make it more simple, then some of our meaning is lost or distorted. And it's just not the same. So it's a real challenge to do this and to always be aware of this. It's a skill that needs to be learned. So right now I would like to ask for any comments or experiences with this, or any ideas regarding to how we speak to ESL students. Do you change the way you speak whenever you speak to ESL students?
Yeah, you have to consciously slow down, especially when I'm explaining something to them that I really want them to know. I always speak very slowly. Other times I speak perhaps a little bit faster when it's not that important. I try to obviously keep that to a minimum, because in our classrooms you have a big mix. Like the dynamics are very big between the advanced students and the less advanced students, because some of them have the advantage of going to cram schools. And so some of them actually can understand a lot more, others can't. But when I'm giving instructions for the entire class, I always moderate my speech so that it's very clear, very articulate, and very slow. Yeah, and if even after that they don't understand it, then I just try and break it into its most basic parts, and try and use examples that they can relate to grasp a few of the vocabulary.
Okay, very good. Thank you. Anybody else who can share? Okay, I've ran into a situation. I don't know if you have, but sometimes foreign teachers will use their English to, what's the right word here? To shut down a conversation with a local that they don't want to speak to. So you speak fairly quickly, you use advanced language, and the local has no idea what you're saying, but they're smiling, they're nodding their head, and it's just going right over their head. And you're smiling as well because you're being polite, but then pretty quickly they walk away because they just can't keep up. Okay? I've done that. I'm guilty of that. Not intentionally. I think I did that just because I wanted to end the conversation. But then after the fact, when I thought about it, I realized, well, that was kind of mean. So I shouldn't have done that.
What's a better way to end the conversation? Let's say you gotta go somewhere, and they just want to keep talking. So rather than using that technique, which you did before, what would be a more polite way?
That's a good
Saying like,
question.
oh, I gotta go do something.
Well, you can say, oh, I'm sorry, I really have to do something else. I don't know. I feel bad about using that technique to end the conversation, but to each their own, I suppose. Does anybody else have any comments or anything that they can share in regards to how we speak to ESL students? This is something that took me a long time to realize. Because I would go in there and I would speak the way I normally speak and just assume that they're going to not necessarily understand it. But I did not realize the way I was speaking was a problem. You really have to adjust and speak in a different register. And whenever I say register, I don't mean the pitch of your voice. Once again, you really need to adjust the way that you speak and the words that you use. Okay? Okay, common errors. Common ESL errors that we run into. I asked you this beforehand, and here are some of your responses. You said a total lack of tone when speaking English.
Yeah.
And whenever this person said tone, I assume that they're talking about intonation, right? The highs and the lows, right? Confusing he, she, and him or her because of no gender in Chinese.
I don't know both of those.
See that all the time.
Yeah.
Talking about my mother, and we use the pronoun he all the
I
time.
was asking you, which one is yours?
Difficulty with time tenses because of no tenses in Chinese.
That's also mine.
Big problem. Someone said the sounds vowels and r sounds R sounds. Okay, any other problems that you can share right now before I share my own list? What are some common errors that you see? Yes.
Third person singular verbs.
Yes, that's the number one on my list. Very good. What else?
Say orange, orangey, or dog.
Dog. Yes. So the ending sound on certain words, right?
They don't have guttural
Add an
sounds
extra
in
syllable.
Chinese.
If it's a consonant on the end of it, they'll add an extra syllable. Yeah.
Let's go even lower. Ekas.
What is that?
X.
Oh, X.
Yeah, Ekas.
Tapuli.
X.
Tapuli.
It's fine. Elo.
Or Elo. Instead of L.
E-L-O-L-O. Hello. That's the right sound. Hello. That's the way you spelled it. H-E-L-O-L-O-O.
Elo, yes.
Hello.
What else? What other problems?
Li.
Li.
Oh, yeah.
Z.
Li.
Always say Z.
What do they say instead of Z?
D.
Always, sometimes always say Z.
It becomes Libra.
Yeah.
So they use like a L sound, like an L
Yes.
sound?
Yes.
Libra. Libra.
Also, TH, they sometimes pronounce like L. Like when I say this, they say this.
This. I've heard that before as well. Yeah.
Stuart and any of the other junior high school, I was actually quite used to this when I was working in junior high school a couple of years ago. A, B, C, Ju.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
Oh.
It's D.
Oh, yeah.
And I used to make jokes. A, B, C, non-Christian.
That one,
That's because when local teachers are leading the students to exchange test papers, they have to check the answers. If you say D, the student cannot hear the D very clearly, so we have to say ABC Jew so they can get it.
Because D, you know the story behind this?
No.
D in Taiwanese means pig,
Yes.
okay? And then in Chinese, pig is zhu,
Yes.
so they say zhu.
Yes.
Oh,
Yeah. So
well, at least they're trying to use a different language, and so they're on the right track.
It's a combination of Taiwanese, Chinese, and English.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yes. Oh, that's not really a pronunciation problem. That's just kind of a idiosyncrasy of the way they do things over here. Okay. Other problems. Another problem I sometimes hear is students don't know how to pronounce J. No, G. They don't know how to pronounce G. G. Oh, not the letter. The letter G. G, G, G. 老师是 G 还是 Okay, so let me just share with you my own list of problems that I see over and over and over again. First one is third person singular, and that means adding S to verbs that follow it, he, or she. So we say he runs, and not he run. You will hear this problem over and over and over and over again.
Yeah, all the time.
Next is tense. So at first, students have difficulty remembering and keeping straight past tense and present tense. Then once they kind of get that down, then they have to tackle the perfect tenses. And perfect tenses for an ESL learner, especially for someone who comes from Taiwan and Chinese doesn't have any tenses at all, perfect tenses are just completely mind-boggling. You know, why do you have these tenses? What the heck do they express?
yeah.
You know, what's the difference between past perfect and past tense? So, very difficult for students. Forgetting to pronounce the last sound in words. Okay, so this is a result of Chinese not having ending consonant sounds, except for g and ng. Ng and g are the only ending consonant sounds in Chinese. Every other sound ends in a verb. So if you have a student who's learning how to speak English and there's a consonant on the end of it, stop. You know, that consonant, that's completely foreign for them. They don't get it, and so they'll add in another syllable, stop.
Yeah.
As a result of Chinese. Oh, and my pet peeve. Thank you for your listening. If you have ever heard this,
Oh, never.
raise your hand. Thank you for your listening. This is so common here.
Yeah, very cool.
I have almost begun to think that it's normal English.
I've almost begun to say it
so
myself.
many times.
I think I have already.
Yeah. Thank you for your listening. It should be thank you for listening. No, thank you for.
Sorry, I got a question. Why can't we say thank you for your attention, but not thank you for your listening?
Or
You can
thank
say
you
thank
for your assistance, or thank you for. Yeah, you can say that, but
She's asking
here.
for rhyme and reason
Yeah,
with
why?
English, and that's you're barking up the wrong tree. You can't ask for rhyme and reason with English. English has so many irregularities in it that I pity the fool who tries to learn it.
I pity the fool. Yeah, so there's no reason. I mean, there probably is a reason if you're a linguist. You know what a linguist is? Okay, if you're a linguist, you probably know the reason. But other than that, I don't know. So I like to think of these errors that we just talked about as low-hanging fruit. What is low-hanging fruit for the locals? What is low-hanging fruit? Low-hanging fruit.
How do you say that in Chinese?
You know what fruit is, right?
It's a fruit that hangs.
And then hanging. Do you know what hanging means? 吊着, right? And then low. 吊着很低的水果. So if you want to pick it, it's very, very easy. You don't have to climb to the top of the tree to pick it. You can pick it off from the bottom of the tree. It's easy. It's very easy. So I think of these errors as low-hanging fruit. it took me a long time to kind of realize what the most common errors were. Originally, I thought it was individual student problems. Oh, this student has a problem with third person singular. This student has a problem with tense. Only after a while did I come to realize that it's nearly universal. That these problems crop up again and again. And if you are aware of them,
Right.
and you can teach them in the very first class, very first few classes, and tell your student, every time I hear you leave off an S from your third person singular, I'm going to call you on it. Every time you're talking about the past and you don't use past tense, I'm going to call you on it. And so you let them know at the very beginning, and then you call them on it again and again in a nice way, but you just keep reminding them over and over and over again. Low-hanging fruit, if you focus on it, it will help your students' English improve immensely. Okay, what do you do with your students to help them improve on these errors? Any ideas?
I make jokes about it. I try to embarrass them a little bit. Not really. I mean, it's ever so slightly. Like for instance, with the he and she, it's great, right? When they'll be talking, because in my classes, I usually get them to talk about like their classmates after a little interview activity. I get them to talk about their classmates, and you know they'll say like she blah blah blah, and like she, that's a she, you know, and then the whole class will laugh and they'll correct themselves, and then after that they're a bit more vigilant, and they a bit more circumspect about how to avoid doing that in the future, making that same mistake. So making light of it, I guess, is probably one of the best ways.
Okay.
Nobody's feelings are hurt.
Very good. Okay, so you joke about it and correct them in a joking manner.
Yeah, and it's easy to do with gender, but it might,
Yeah, because those always come off kind of funny.
Yeah.
Okay, any other suggestions for tackling these errors, or handling these errors? Yeah.
I'm serious. Correct the student errors. Correct the student. Or else they like to say student. But I'm serious to him and correct them about student. But I'm small.
Oh, you smile while you do
I
it.
smile to him and to her, and you have to say student, not to,
Yeah.
or some kind of hello. You have to say alien, and then if you don't understand, and if you don't remember that kind of, I put one shoes and say ale. It is Taiwanese A, shoes A, alien.
Oh.
And put your tongue up and say L.
Oh, very
Yes.
good. Okay.
It is one of yes.
I think what you said is pretty important. To smile while you're
Yes.
correcting them
Yes.
and make them feel like it's okay to make a mistake.
Yeah,
I'm just going to correct you and we'll do better. No big deal.
Better
Okay,
with sound
good.
is if people
What other ideas
are gonna be like, yeah, go.
for handling these common mistakes?
Vowels, yeah, I think it's-
Yep.
I just come on ideas, but about those situations because I also happen in my class too. But I think we can do it by practice, but sometimes because some kids have already been to a grand school, so when they have a very first English class, they already have a weird pronunciation already. And for the situation in Union County, most kids probably have just 1 or 2 class per week. So it seems like they don't have other input. So they will say, oh, it's others say student. Everyone says student, but only your English teacher you say student. So they couldn't understand why, because people always do that. So because we are local teachers, so we can get it. But kids don't have the resource to practice, and sometimes they will write down in Chinese spelling. So that's why they cannot pronounce very well.
True. They'll use
And-
Muffa to write
Yeah,
and write the pronunciation.
会写
words.
注音, write down the Chinese spelling, yeah.
True. Yeah. That's not a good system.
But I could not blame them because they only have like 40 or 50 minutes a week, and there's no CD, no internet, no everything. So if he's eager, if he or she are eager to learn English, then just try to correct them probably like grade 5 or 6. And we told them now you have the sense of how to pronounce, but right now you have to correct those errors.
Okay, very good. So not a lot of interaction with good teachers. They hear the words mispronounced a lot in their environment, so it's hard for them to distinguish what's right and what's wrong. Yeah. Okay. Yeah, that's a difficult problem.
Okay, what about silent sound?
The silent sound.
It's seldom that they have to say the last sound,
Mhm.
right? But then you get words that have silent sounds. So now if they try to put all of them together and say the word and put all the sounds together, yet some of the sounds are silent, they're going to mispronounce the word wrong.
You're talking about like nice, like with a K in the front of it, and they don't pronounce that.
How do you solve both problems?
The problem of there being silent sounds, silent.
You said in the beginning, you focus on them, you tell them every time that they leave out the end sound, they're going to,
Correct.
that's correct.
Yeah.
So now they're trying their best not to leave out any of the sound, and they're going to read a word, and they're going to put all the sounds together.
Oh, well, this is just a particular sound. It's just the S on verbs following he, she, or it. So it's a very particular, specialized case. And so you just let them know, anytime you got he, she, or it, and a verb, you have to put an S on the end of it. I'm not asking for you to read out every single letter in the word that you're pronouncing. But anytime you have that combination, third person singular, you have to put an S on the end of it. All right. What do you do? Oh, well, who is this? Hermione Granger. Yeah, Hermione Granger. And Hermione Granger is holding up her hand because she is very, very eager to learn, right? Yeah, you can tell that from her facial expression. She is very, very eager to learn. Sometimes we have students like Hermione Granger. These students love English. They love interacting with the foreign teacher. They will use their break, 下课时间, to go and talk with the teacher instead of going to the Felicia or something like that. Instead of going to the school store to buy food, they'll use their break to go talk with the teacher. They love English. Do you have any students like this?
Oh yeah.
Yeah. Do you like students like this?
Yeah.
I love students like this. These are my favorite students. These are my favorite students. What do you do with students like this? You want to help them. You want to give them what they need.
True. They really want
So how do you help them? Well, before I show you what I do, what do you do to help them? Besides just smiling and talking to them.
Nothing special.
Nothing
It's
special.
like, I don't know, you allow them to talk. Just the other day when I came into my school, one of the learners, one of the students, he was just reading out of one of his English books, and I just helped him with his grammar, and we were just practicing. So I was just listening, and just kind of critiquing a couple errors.
Yeah.
And he took his book and made the little changes. I don't know, just listening.
Give them some extra attention.
Yeah, nothing special.
Yeah, okay, very good. Anybody else have any ideas for what you can do for those eager students?
Now, are they above level? Is that what you're
Normally they are above level.
saying? Okay.
Normally they are above level.
I have a grade 1 student right now. And when you're in grade 1 in Taiwan, you're basically learning the alphabet and their sounds. This child was raised, I believe, I don't think she may have been born there also. She was raised in Australia for the first 5 or 6 years. She's now living in Taiwan. She can read on a 4th grade level, as in 4th grade in the U.S. So I have found 4th grade books for her to read. outside of class.
Very
I
good.
would rather her read them in the class because otherwise she just sits there and answers every question. Nobody else gets a chance.
Oh, that's easy.
Yeah. What is this sound?
Fast
Yeah.
lunch.
I like what you said. You gave her some books to read. You can
Yeah.
recommend some books.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's great. I have 3 sons, and my sons love to read. We have a stack of books that, young adult books, young adult fiction. And so that's a great resource to share with students who are advanced. Yeah, any other
Good
suggestions?
idea. No, bro. Yeah, thank you. That's good, but
If a student are really eager to learn, but because I don't really have the time, the class is really tight, and I would encourage he or she whether he would like to do a special task, I will ask them to ask the English name of the teachers or the directors, and give him chance to do some special task. Like sing a song to someone, and he would if he really most of the time he would to do the task immediately, and I think he just needs some encouragement and needs some attention. He's may not improve in English, but he needs someone to be there accompanying with him.
Okay.
Yeah, but if I don't have a class, I would I would sit together and listen to him, to sing a song and everything. But if I have a tight schedule, I will ask him to find a home teacher or a director, to have just like give him a stage,
Okay.
to perform.
Give them a stage to perform some extra activities to do.
Yeah, I would, and he would get some reward for that. So because I think we started very hard, so I give some reward.
Very good. Okay. Any other ideas? Let me share with you what I do. I have an English lunch. Oh, what is an English lunch? It's just the way it sounds. You invite a couple of your best students, those students who are like Hermione Granger, really eager to learn. You set aside 1 day per week, no more than that. After they finish eating, you invite them to go to the library. We do it at the library. We go to the library, and then it's just English conversation time, whatever they want to talk about at their level. And it's a great activity because it requires no preparation on your part whatsoever. You just have to give your time. They get personal one-on-one time with you. If they were paying for that time outside of class, it would be very, very expensive. They love it, and what it does it feels great to help them out, but besides that, this is my, these are my students that I do it with. Besides that, it builds up student loyalty. Student loyalty is very, very important if you're a foreign teacher. If students like you, if they see that you're going the extra mile, you're helping them out, you're having this English lunch, then they'll tell other students that they like you. You will get a good reputation in your school. And then that will translate to them telling teachers, administrators, and this loyalty will translate into better communication with your bosses. It will translate into sometimes raises, more opportunities for work, all kinds of tangible and intangible benefits, all kinds of things. So this comes from student loyalty. So this is my English lunch. I have 3 girls. Usually girls are, I don't know why, but usually girls are the ones that really like English.
boys' brains are not fully
There's some
developed.
boys as well. But you want to keep your English lunch small if possible. I would say no more than 4 students, so everyone feels comfortable speaking. And what I would recommend doing is have them bring something to eat, a snack, and some drinks, just so you can make the atmosphere nice and relaxed. If everyone's sitting there, drinking their drink and eating their cookies or whatever, and it's very relaxed, it goes a long way to help them feel comfortable speaking English.
Do you speak any Chinese with them?
With these students, I don't need to speak Chinese. They love English so much and they want to practice it so much that the key with English lunch is you don't invite students who don't want to be there. You only invite students who are eager and who are looking to learn. Yeah, these students, if it's Monday, we do it on Monday, and I forgot or something, they will come and find me and say, we got to do our English lunch. It's that kind of student. The Hermione Granger is the kind of student that you're looking for these things. Otherwise, if you find you're ever pushing them to attend, then I would say cut them out. Say, you don't have to come, that's all right. Another thing I do is English journal for these eager students.
Oh, yeah.
So you have them write a journal every day in English, and then once a week they give it to you. And it takes you about 5 minutes to correct it. You take a red pen, and you just correct your journal and give it back to them. And then you tell them to rewrite every entry based on your corrections. And have them do that every single week. They're practicing their English writing every single week. They're getting one-on-one expert correction from the foreign teacher. They love to do it. If you try to have a student who doesn't really want to learn English do this, they won't do it. This is homework. Who wants to do homework? Unless you really want to. You'll find students who really want to do this. And if you ever find those students, English lunch, English journal, great way to help them out. They'll love you.
What kind of things do you have them write in the journal? Like what they did that day, what time they woke up, what they ate for breakfast, like a diary kind of thing?
I honestly don't give them a whole lot of direction. They write whatever's on their mind, really. Like I have a girl, she was talking about problems with her friends in class, and she was talking about how her brother left home because their mom was too strict. I mean, they'll write about anything in these journals. Yeah.
Wow.
It's real.
What kind of feedback do you give her? Feedback.
Mhm.
Or what kind of feedback do you offer to those kind of students?
You mean in terms of the English journal?
Yeah.
Okay, so what I do is whenever I get it, I'll take a red pen and I'll go by and correct it. After 2 or 3 weeks, you'll start to notice a pattern. They'll make the same mistakes over and over and over again. And then at that point, you can tell them, you can point out these mistakes. And what I do is now whenever this student goes to give me her journal, I'll say, all right, third person singular, did you add S? All past tense verbs, did you use the past tense because these are her problems? And yes, I did. Are you sure? Go back and check again. She'll go back and check again. She'll find a couple that she hasn't done that for. Then she'll turn it in, and she makes improvements like that.
So do you make comments also about what she wrote on the journal?
Comments about the content,
Yeah.
about what they wrote. Sometimes I talk to them about it. So in this girl's case, she's writing kind of family stuff and friend stuff, and I don't talk to her a whole lot about it. I mean, it's what's going on in her family. But it's nothing too serious, at least from what I gather. So I haven't talked to her a whole lot about it, mainly just the grammar. But, if you really want to help that student, you could take that as a starting point and ask them questions about what they wrote. That would be a great way to help them as well. Say, I noticed that you wrote that your brother left home. Can you tell me? Well, maybe. Sorry, maybe that's bad. Poor judgment on my part. You could write, your favorite boy band is
One Direction.
One Direction.
It's gotta be.
Yeah. So, are they coming to Taiwan? Are you going to see them? Why do you like them? What other bands do you like? You can kind of take that as a starting jumping point.
Yeah.
Any other questions about this? What other ways can we build student loyalty?
Chocolate, ice cream.
Bribes.
Joking, yeah.
Bribing them. And chocolate ice cream, that's always good. I have teachers at my school who will buy the entire class drinks, I don't know if you've ever seen that, but
Oh, it's
Yeah.
quite
Sounds like a
common.
bribe to me. What?
It's quite common.
Quite common?
Yeah.
No. All right. What other ways can we earn student loyalty? Any ideas?
You hear class?
Promise them a fun day
Yeah.
if they're good.
I promise them a fun day if they're good.
Yeah.
I personally think anytime students see you going the extra mile,
Yeah.
they recognize that. They know that your job is to be there from a certain time to a certain time. If you take any of your time to help them, English lunch, journal, anything like that, they see that, they recognize that, and they appreciate it and respect it. And it translates to student loyalty. Let's talk about games. I feel like this is a somewhat contentious, somewhat contentious issue. There's a wide range of opinions on this subject. Some teachers feel like, oh, games are great. I use games all the time. Some teachers feel like games are a waste of time. You're not really teaching them anything. You're just playing with them. You know, other teachers take a stance somewhere in the middle. You know, what is the appropriate role of games in the ESL classroom?
I
You
just
got
like to
any
say
ideas?
that this is my second year in this Teach Taiwan program,
Yep.
and we got an edict, a royal edict,
Okay.
last year from the government saying that slow down your teaching. They said that we want the students to learn English. We don't want them to have a bad impression with English. So just teach them just a few basic things and just try and make it fun. So we actually got the go-ahead, the green light from the government to
Game out.
game out, game on, game
Wow.
out, game on.
Tournament class.
Yeah.
So you guys play a lot of games in class.
Yeah, I would say that I do. Every class, I mean, they expect it. Like halfway through the class, they're already saying, "Teacher, game time." Like, no, not yet, not yet. Be patient. So they expect it. It's like par for the course.
Surprise, no game.
Yeah, yeah. They'll be
Surprise.
downtrodden
Or
if there's
you're
no
good
game.
and you can take a break early.
Yeah. So you are actually sanctioned, and not or you were kind of told to play games in your class.
Yes.
It's kind of a rule that you have to play games.
They said make it fun, which translates into games. Yeah.
Okay. Interesting. Okay, very good. In general, my feeling is the younger the class, the smaller the class, the more games that you can play with the class. The bigger the class, the older the students, the less appropriate games are. So it really is a judgment call.
Right.
Yeah. So I asked you this question. Here are some anonymous answers. Someone said games should attract students' interest to be willing to speak English. Another person said playing games is just a tool, but not a main way to learn English. Another person says it certainly helps in getting them motivated and to burn off energy that they have.
Bronze.
Not mine.
Go for your life.
All right, so let's talk about some games. I'll share with you my games first of all, and then we can get feedback on what games work, what games don't work. Okay. All right, so I teach older students, and so I use these games. I use Jeopardy. Now I don't use a fancy high-tech program to do Jeopardy. I just do it on the board. But I'm looking for a program that I can use on my computer, as I'm sure that would be much better. Students love Jeopardy. Local teachers, do you know what Jeopardy is? Yeah? You know? You know what Jeopardy is? Yeah? It's popular in the USA. Yeah, it's a game you can play on the web. Yeah. How about these local teachers? Do you know what Jeopardy is? Do you know what Jeopardy is? Put you on the spot. Do you know what Jeopardy is?
Not pretty sure.
Not really. Okay, not really. Okay, this teacher is shaking his head. He doesn't know what Jeopardy is.
No Jeopardy. You know what Jeopardy is.
Dion, you don't know what Jeopardy is?
I think I have an idea.
You what?
Are you? You're being facetious.
I'm just kidding, man.
You're just kidding.
What? My dad.
Okay, for those who don't know, very briefly, Jeopardy is a quiz show. It's a quiz show. And basically, at the top you have different subjects. Okay, so maybe you're teaching them, a unit about shapes. Maybe you're teaching them a unit about colors, so you can have shapes and colors. Down here you have points. The students will raise their hand. You divide into two teams first. Divide into two teams, at least two teams. Each team takes a turn to raise their hand and to choose a subject and points. As a teacher, you have questions already prepared. You have to ask them a question. If they get it right, they get the points, and they get to continue to choose questions. It's a very fun game. Students love it. They get pretty competitive. All right, another game that works pretty well is charades.
I love it.
Do you guys use charades in class?
Not this year, but I used charades a lot last year. A lot of fun.
Okay. Local teachers, do you know what charades are? Nope. No. Okay. Dion, you want to explain what charades are and how you use them in class?
I will not demonstrate.
Demonstrate.
What is it? Like, all right, it's just like, all right, Linda, you and I can
Demonstrate?
Yeah, that'd be great.
we'll make it
All right,
short,
tell
short and
us.
sweet. Okay. So who should give us a word? All right.
I'll give you a word.
Give Dion a word and I'll guess it.
Okay.
Okay. Oh, okay. All right, so I got a word.
Okay.
Okay. So now you can't. Which one is the one where you can't say it?
No, charades is where you act it out.
Oh, okay.
Dictionary is
Oh, okay. All right.
You gotta act it out.
So. Oh wait.
Motorcycle.
Wait. Okay, so I gotta.
Helmet.
Yeah, helmet.
All right.
Helmet.
The helmet. Okay. So it's like a vocab. Use a vocab or
Oh,
something
that's
like
fine.
that.
Give me one. just one.
And
Just
then you
one.
have to guess what. Yeah.
All right, don't look at it though.
Oh, you.
guess it. Give me one, Doris. Something that Dean has to guess. Yeah.
Am I guessing this one?
You are guessing this.
Okay, I'll guess. Don't make it too hard.
Signs out.
Joking.
No, that's right there.
Okay.
Is it different? Difficult
Well, I
one?
tell you what. I'm going to use my words this time because it's impossible to act out. And you'll see why when you guess it.
Multiple.
Okay, this is a fruit that you eat in the summertime typically, and it's very big and has lots of seeds in it.
Watermelon.
Yeah.
Watermelon.
Yeah. How would you act that out?
Act out a watermelon.
There you go, Dion. You got it.
Oh! I was going to try and make myself the watermelon, not you.
No, man. Don't do that.
Okay, so you give the students a word, and either they have to act it out or they have to describe it. You have a question? Would you like to come up and act?
Yeah, give her another one. Why not?
Yeah.
All right, come on up. Yeah.
Okay.
Oh. This is top secret. CIA should do this. CIA?
I can't help it, man. I can't help it. Is that it? I bet you it's gonna be.
Yeah. Chance. Sumo wrestler. Elephant.
All right, very good.
I was trying to say 30.
All right, now it's discussion time. Other games that you like to use. What are your most successful games that always work? Yeah, what are your most successful games? And what are games you should avoid? What are the duds?
Last year, we bought a Twister, and then we used that in our office. So for the kids that are learning like colors and that thing, you can
Oh.
right, left, right hand. Like we had already done body parts, so they had a foundation to go off of. But right hand on the blues or yellow, so that's cool.
Yeah, that sounds like a lot of fun.
Yeah, and the classrooms are small, so it's not like crazy.
And not many kids, I guess, right? Yeah.
Manageable.
What other games work? Hangman, the old classic.
Hangman.
Yeah.
Classic.
If I got 10 minutes to kill, nothing to do.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, you've been there. Everyone's been there. All right, what else? What else have we got? Come on, enlighten me with your knowledge.
Okay, like tic-tac-toe
Mhm.
with words. Oh, and you can kind of spice it up by enabling the students to create sentences using multiple words that are on the board to create like a tic-tac-toe in one go.
Like, so they have to.
Like the shark ate the kitten that was swimming in the ocean. See, like shark, kitten, and ocean.
Uh-huh.
And then they can get all three of those in one go.
Oh,
If they make a sentence with proper grammar.
Okay, that's cool. So they have to have like a subject, a verb, and an object. And
Yeah.
if they can do that, they can. Okay, very cool. What other games work?
Simon Says.
Simon Says.
Classic.
Oh yeah, that's a
Very
classic.
classic. Yeah.
Teacher Says. Sorry.
Teacher said.
No, it's
Good. What else have we got?
What else we got?
What's that? Twister. Do you use Twister in your classroom as well? Twister's good. In your junior high school class? Twister. Very good. What else? What always works? What do the kids love?
I don't know what you call it, but it's like in some of my classes where their ability is good and they really like competition. I do a game where I just like ask them a question and get them to write it on the answer on the board as quickly as they can. I make them stand at the back of the class so they actually get to run to the front of the class. I call it run and write. Because for
Very
yeah.
descriptive.
But they it's a rage. It's all a rage for them.
That's good. I used to do that whenever I worked at a cram school. You just have to be careful that they don't get so exuberant that they fall and get hurt. Yeah, one time I was playing with the kids. They were running. I thought it would be funny to kind of like put my arm out and like stop this kid, because he was so intent on getting to the chalkboard, and he just went. He did like a flip over my arm. So, yeah, you have to be careful. Yeah. Basically. All right, other games. Have you ever found that your students get game fatigue? Like, oh, teacher, we played that game before. I don't want to play that game. Let's play a
Oh,
different
yeah.
game.
Oh yeah.
Definitely.
Yeah.
And what do you do about that? Do you
I
Do you have an endless supply of games to play?
We play card games. I usually carry around
Uno.
I want to come and work at your school, man.
but when we play, they have to use English, and it's good to recognize the colors, especially for the young learners. Yeah. And so,
It's more for like
in the
third and
numbers.
fourth grade.
Yeah, so it's cool. You can make anything into an English exercise.
Yeah.
You really have a big
Yeah.
imagination.
Have you found that they have their own set of rules half the time when
No,
they
we
play?
cut that. We leave that outside.
You have to play by the actual rules of the game.
Well, you know what?
My way
A
or
couple of
the
my schools, the kids cheat, and it's
Yeah.
just like, I stopped playing because they want me to play, and then they're like, getting cards on the table. I'm like, all right, no, it's over.
Oh.
I hate that. I was like, there's no. If you've never played Uno, it's okay. Raise your hand if you played Uno before. You probably show a hand so I know who I'm talking to. All right, half you played Uno, so it's fun to dish out a draw four or one of those penalty cards. It's not a penalty card, but it hits them and they're like shifting them around so it comes on me. And I'm just like, no, I don't even play with you guys.
They shift them around.
Well, they're under the table though. They're passing under the table, so like they do reverse on me, and then when it comes my turn, they're like, oh, guess what we got? And so I let them play, but that's a they always like
Nice. Okay. I remember whenever I used to teach at a cram school, my kids would get very particular about their games. You could play a game that they would like, but then after playing it twice, they'd be like, No, we don't want to play that anymore. Something new. Give us something new. Give us something new. So it's always this challenge to think of a new, fun, exciting game.
Okay, there is a game which is it's so popular. It's being played by celebrities now in the States. It's called Catchphrase originally. It might be known by other names as well. But basically, you've got a timer, a buzzer, and the buzzer is set to like 1 minute, maybe like a minute and a half. And it's like hot potato. Okay, so the buzzer's going around, and you pick up a word, and you have to describe that word. It's basically like charades. You have to what I did. You have to describe that word to your teammates, and they have to guess it, right? And so as the buzzer is about to like go off, explode, then it starts the buzzer starts to beat faster, so you know. And so it just kind of like raises your adrenaline, you know, and the students really get into it. And if the buzzer goes off when you have it in your hands, when you're still trying to give, you know, to get your teammate to guess it, then you lose a point, your opposing team advances, and that's a great one. I mean, obviously with elementary school, we would have to use simple vocabulary, like animals and colors and simple things like that. But you can take it up to, you know, you can take it up to adult level, you can take it up to university level. It depends on what terms or what concepts you want to teach. But it's super fun. It uses all of the language that they have at, you know, in their arsenal.
And if they're really little, they can probably just act it out, right?
Yeah, or like, colors, they'll just like point to something, or act it out, like they'll do charades. And sometimes that's much more effective. Like if you have something like pirate, you just go like, "R," you know, and like, "Oh, pirate," you know? Or, like motorcycle, vroom, vroom, and it's like, you don't have to describe it with your words.
So can you buy that game here?
I actually found the buzzer on YouTube. You just type in catchphrase buzzer. And then I downloaded that, and then I made like all the vocabulary, because you can buy it here, but the vocabulary would be too advanced for our students. Yeah. So I just laminated a bunch of words that I want them to learn, and I play it with the students. Yeah, it's really good.
Okay, very cool, very cool.
Catchphrase.
Catchphrase.
When you say you downloaded the buzzer, I mean, is it like...
I used a program called Real Player Cloud to download it, and then you can convert it to an MP3 and use it any way you want.
Okay, but it has a timer and everything?
Yeah, and it goes beep, beep, beep. I could, yeah.
Okay.
Catchphrase.
You need the timer, by the way.
You have to have that.
You gotta have the timer, because that just creates the atmosphere of like tension and excitement. You gotta have it.
Very important. Okay. All right. Any other games you can share?
I got one last one. I'll keep it brief. It's I haven't done it this year, but it's just like a snowball fight. So like I'll have each student write maybe like a few questions. So this is obviously based on like some material that you're working on, so it's current, but you can just have the students write out different questions, and then they all like all ball them up. So maybe 3 questions on 3 different pieces of paper. You give them like 2 minutes, throw on some music, and let them like throw like paper around the room like a snowball fight.
Yeah.
And then at the end of the music's over, you know, like once the time, 2 minutes or 3 minutes, however much you allow them, and they answer the questions, and then they have to read them out loud. So it's kind of like it's not so much a game as it is just like an activity to get them up, moving, and answering questions, and everybody wants to get up and like, you know, throw things.
Yeah, I can imagine the kids would love that.
And I had fun because, you know, I had some students that I really didn't get along well with, so I got to take out some.
Nice. Got to cream them with some crumpled up paper.
Absolutely.
Yeah, nice. Right. We don't have a whole lot of time left, so I'm just going to go very briefly. Small class teaching. I think a lot of you teach small classes. The dynamics for a small class are a lot different than for a large class. I've taught some small classes that have gone very, very well, and I've taught some small classes that have gone very, very poorly. And I found, at least with older students, the key factor is how much responsibility they take for their learning. If you can somehow communicate to the student that their responsibility is to come to your class ready to talk. And I'm talking about classes where you have like 2 students, 1 student, 3 student, 3 students, if you ever have an opportunity to do something like that with very few students, you need to communicate to them that they need to come to class ready to try to say anything and everything that they possibly can. You need to put the responsibility on them. If they are willing to try, then they will learn. The class will be good. If they're silent, if they're introverted, if they're unwilling to take that first step and to attempt to struggle to speak English, then they're going to be held back and it's going to be difficult for them to learn. This is a book I use with some of my older students. If you ever have the opportunity to teach older students one-on-one, one-on-two, I recommend using this book. It's called Compelling Conversations. It's got like 30 chapters. Each chapter is a different topic, and there's about 20 interesting questions about each topic. What you do with these students is you give them the book, assign a chapter, tell them to go home, and prepare the answers to the questions for that chapter. Whenever they come to your class, you just open the book and you start asking them. They respond, you ask them follow-up questions. You don't have to think of any questions. They know what they're going to be asked. It's a very, very good way to get them talking about a lot of different things. Compelling Conversations, you can buy it on Amazon. You can download it on your computer. I'm not sure if you can get it at a bookstore in Taiwan, but very good. So here's like an example chapter. So this is about being yourself. It's asking the student to describe their personality. Are they patient or impatient, quiet or talkative? This is obviously ideal for older students. Magazines. Do you guys use English language magazines? Oh, these magazines are ubiquitous here. You guys know what ubiquitous means?
Yeah.
Ubiquitous for the local teachers. It just means you see them everywhere, right? These magazines are everywhere. And they start off very basic. They have basic, intermediate, advanced, super advanced, professional. And you can always assign one of these, an article from one of these magazines to a student. Whenever they come back, they need to summarize the article. You can ask them questions about the article. And then one thing I like to have them do is put individual paragraphs into their own words. I read a paragraph and then you got to tell me what that paragraph said, but say it your own way. Another thing I do is have students perform monologues. Okay, so if you can come up with a very simple monologue, one paragraph long, just a couple sentences, something dramatic, a situation that's dramatic. The student has to memorize the situation and then act it out. I think yesterday I showed you the student performing Breaking Bad. That's a classic example of monologues. But you don't have to do anything that complex. You can do something a lot simpler. This book is called Magnificent Monologues for Kids. You can buy this on Amazon as well.
You don't find that your students are like, restricted by their shyness and like acting it out? Like whenever I ask my students to come up in front of the class and do anything like simple, like even charades or act anything out, it's just such a poor effort. It's like, all right, just go back, sit down. They're just they're paralyzed with fear.
Yes, it's true. But I have found there's some things that you could do to help with that. Preparation. You have to train them. And whenever I say train them, I don't mean train them to overcome their fears. I mean you have to, for example, if I were going to do a monologue in class, I would print it out, class 1, print it out, give it to them, teach them what it means, I would say it, I would perform it. Next class, I have them all memorize it, and then I walk around and listen to them perform it. Okay, good job, you need to do a better job memorizing it. Next class, I draw out lots, and then you're coming up to the front of the class, and you're going to do the monologue for a grade. So they've already had 2 classes to kind of get used to the idea of, I'm going to have to do this. If you put them on the spot and tell them to come out, you're going to have a lot of problems. But if they can kind of get used to the idea, it helps a lot.
So what's the objective in having them act out the monologue, just for the fun of acting it out? Or is someone in the class going to guess what they're trying to act out?
People in the class don't guess, but I'm glad you asked this question. There's a couple really, really good things that students learn from this. First of all, when they memorize a dialogue, that language is theirs. It's in their head. You know, they have memorized it. They own that language. And they can pull it out and use it in the future anytime they want to. They've memorized sentences. They've memorized a paragraph. And so they have, you know, they have all of that they can use. And then the second thing, which is very, very important, is they learn about intonation. And they learn about emotion in the voice.
Okay.
Now, for a lot of students, basic level students, when you're learning a second language, it's all about the words. It's all about the nouns and the verbs and the adjectives. And the meaning that you convey through your words is no different than if you had written the same words on a sheet of paper.
Yeah.
But the voice really has such a range of emotion. You know, by your inflection, you can communicate at a level much deeper than the actual words. And what you're doing with monologues is you're training the students to use their voice to express emotion in English. Which someone said that a lot of students have no tone when they're speaking English. You know, a lot of students sound like robots when they're speaking English. And if you can do this, you can help them overcome that. You can help them learn intonation. If you have a small class, I usually start by asking them 2 questions. I say, and it's the same question every time.
Yeah.
Tell me one good thing that happened this past week. Tell me one bad thing that happened this past week. There's 2 reasons for asking these questions. Number 1, it breaks the ice. It gets them talking about themselves. And it's the same question every week, so they expect it. Number 2, you're asking about something that happened in the past. So it's a great way to practice past tense. This past week, something good happened. They're going to use past tense every single time, so you can focus on it at the beginning of every single class. And then finally, I would say, if you're teaching a small class and the student is shy and they are embarrassed about speaking, wait. Ask them a question and wait. See who breaks first.
The teacher.
See who gets the most uncomfortable with the silence. Ask them a question and just wait. And eventually, most of the time, the student will speak.
Really? How long have they?
Yeah.
How long? What's your longest standoff so far?
Honestly, I don't let the standoffs get too long. If I realize, if I realize after 10 seconds.
Oh, 10 seconds. Oh, that's nothing. I've had like 30-second standoffs.
30-second standoffs?
Yeah.
Okay, and they didn't say anything. They didn't
Yeah.
break.
And then I just like, all right, think about it. We'll come back to you.
Okay.
This works better if you're working with a very small class, like 2 or 3 students. If you're working with a larger class and you ask them a question and put them on the spot, and then it becomes really uncomfortable after 30 seconds, and everyone in the class is looking at them,
Yeah.
there's probably a good chance that they're not going to say anything.
Yeah.
Okay. And then finally, my final suggestion, and this also applies to small classes. If any of you have an opportunity to do any tutoring, I don't know, I think officially private tutoring is illegal. If you are tutoring for free, let's just say if you're tutoring for free,
Kind of small and hard.
okay, hypothetical situation here. What I would recommend doing if you're dealing with a shy student, an introverted student, is if you can bring in another student who speaks well, they can kind of encourage that student in Chinese. So you ask the student, like, oh, what did you do today? And the student's silent. The other student who speaks pretty good English and is pretty excited about learning English, they say, 那你今天做了什么？那你今天不是去买东西吗？卖了什么东西？说啊，说啊。And then the student will respond to that, and then they'll talk more. So sometimes the dynamic between 3 people is a lot better than the dynamic between 2 people. Okay, we don't have time for now it's your turn. In fact, we have to go and take a picture. But thank you, everyone. It's been a long day.